Hello, hello, hola, hola. Hello, ¿cómo están, amigos? Thanks for joining this event here in Lima, Peru. My name is Vanessa, and we are going to talk about Christmas in Peru, the history of Christmas, and as well the history of the New Year's Eve celebrations, how we celebrate New Year's Eve here in this part of the world. Thank you so much for being here with me. So let me first begin sharing our slides. And let's go to the first one. And okay. So let's start with this event dedicated to the history of Christmas in Peru. And also we're going to talk about a very Peruvian New Year's Eve, how the New Year's Eve celebrations are here in South America, and in particular in my country. But before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am a licensed tour guide from Peru, born in Lima. I've been guiding for several years, since 2006. My specialty is, well, everything related with history. I love history. Uh, Tour guides can diversify a lot. There's people who like adventure and trekking and, well, outdoors activities. I love history. And I have specialized in, well, the research of pre-Hispanic history, colonial as well, the untold history of both eras, and also about the immigrations to Peru. So in today's event, you're going to see how important the immigrations from different parts of the world also influenced it, or how important they were in the celebration of Christmas nowadays, the way how we celebrate Christmas. I've been also guiding many years out of my city, taking people to different cities in the country. And also that helped me see and understand how people from all the parts of the country celebrate and live also these festivities. I've been guiding also virtually since the world pandemic. So, well, I hope you enjoy this activity of today. And in today's event, we will talk about, well, the history, of course, of Christmas in Peru. But before that, also how December, the month of December, was celebrated in the pre-Hispanic times. So December was a very important month for the Incas. And sadly, we don't really have lots of information about other societies before the Incas. Other than, let's say, what we can find in archaeological sites and in tombs and in temples, but there was not a writing system as well. Now we know how writing systems are, or if there were any writing systems, they are gone. So we don't know how to interpret those informations. So we have orally transmitted stories that the Spanish listen from the Incas, and also events and activities they were able to witness made by the Incas, performed by the Incas, that they were able to transcript, and that's the information now we have. So how Christmas came to Peru, also, that's another very important topic, how we receive this celebration, and also, well, how we adapted this celebration. Elements like, for example, the retablos, which are these very, very unique forms of depiction of scenes, in this case, the nativity scene, the worship of the mountains in our nativity sets, the uniquely way how sometimes we decorate our Christmas trees. And also, well, our Peruvian Santa Clauses. Food also, we're going to talk about the food of Christmas over the course of history, throughout the ages. And also, well, we will finalize this event talking about New Year's Eve in Peru and what we do, what are our Kabbalahs, or let's say, sort of like tricks to have a very nice next year. Okay. So first of all, and before we begin this activity, I would like to let you know that the chat is open. If you wish to send me a message, ask me something, please feel free to do that. And well, at any time during the event, I just will hope that it is working, everything good. I just activated the chat for you. If not, in a moment, I will double check. And also at the end of the event, we will have a time to answer questions. So, well, Navidad, in other parts of the world, this Christian Catholic celebration, well, also evangelical celebration, is named differently. No, in the Hispanic Americas, this celebration is named Navidad, and Navidad comes from the word natividad or nativity. That's the origin of this name. Before the arrival of the conquistadors to this part of the world, to what they call the New World, the Spanish conquistadors were, of course, Catholic in majority. There were some who were conversos from the Jewish faith, or there were Moors that were converted as well to Christianity. Some of them were truly converted in their heart. Some of them were not really, that they were trying just to escape the persecution in Europe. But, well, let's say the Catholic who came here were, of course, trying to share their faith, impose, of course, in some moments, the faith they had as the one and only to the indigenous. But there were, of course, other celebrations that were very important in the Americas and in Peru, or what nowadays is Peru, because Peru is an invention of basically that started in the colonial times, but was reaffirmed in the post-independence times. So in this part of the Andes of South America, the kingdom that ruled was the Inca kingdom, one of the greatest societies, civilizations that existed in the world. And the Incas, they had their own calendar, they had their own religion, and this religious calendar appointed as, well, let's say in this part of the year, what we call December, appointed it to be the month of the celebration of the great Easter of the sun. Also, during the period of the month of December, there were ceremonies that took place. One of them was the Huarachicuy, a very important ceremony, which was an initiation for young people into adult life. There was not really an understanding of adolescency in the pre-Hispanic times. You were a child or you were an adult. The adolescency is more like a modern creation, honestly, that started, I think, in the mid-19th century. And then, well, it has evolved also this understanding. It's more like a psychological rather than a physical, let's say, a period. But for the pre-Hispanic societies, well, you were a child or you were an adult. And the Huarachicuy was a ceremony for men. There was also another for women that took place in this part of the year. And why this was the season of the great Easter of the sun, also known as the celebration of the young sun. By the way, you can see here an image taken from a very important document from the early 17th century made by Guamán Poma de Ayala. Guamán Poma was an indigenous man who made a chronicle So this is a unique chronicle because most chronicles were done by Spanish, and they made documents, they produced documents under their own interpretation as Western people, with their, old, let's say, taboos and, well, opinions based on their own experiences. But, well, how beautiful and wonderful to have a indigenous man who was able to write, to take notes, to make drawings about, well, his experience and his own story, right? So the Capac Raimi, he even dedicated in his document that has over 400 pages. Most of them are text, but also we have lots of drawings. We see here this diciembre, which is the first word up there, and also Capac Raimi. So this is the time for us. Remember, we are in the southern hemisphere, so we are getting closer to the sun. The sun is for longer time shining. The days are longer. Although we are very close to the equator, there are very few, let's say, differences in terms of exposure to the sun or presence of the sun in the sky here this close to the equator. But, well, there is more, let's say, high temperature. So for the indigenous, this period was very important, especially because this was the time before the rain falls, the rains that are also still nowadays so fundamental for our people in the Andes, especially because we are a mainly agricultural society, even still nowadays. We are not so technological. So here we have a representation of the Huarachicuy. So the Huarachicuy is a ceremony that now in Cusco and in some parts also of the territory that used to belong to the Tahuantinsuyo or the kingdom of the Incas. So the Tahuantinsuyo was a very big space, geographical space. We can start really from the south extreme course of the borders of this Tahuantinsuyo kingdom in its max expansion, talking about, for example, the north of Argentina, the north of Chile, Peru, part of Bolivia, Ecuador, and Colombia. Well, that was a very, very large space. And the Incan traditions was so important that still there are people in those territories that I mentioned that still practice these ceremonies in the same month, in December. So this was a moment when well, these young children, we will say, for some people will still consider them children, or teenagers, adolescents. For some, we're talking about 13-year-old, 14-year-old boys demonstrated their strength. It was, in a way, a form of presentation into society. Nowadays in Latin America, we have this tradition of celebrating quinceañeras, like 15-year-old girls, in this case, that are presented into society in these very, very nice events, parties that are organized by their parents. So, well, something like that for men and women. Women, of course, it was a very important, let's say, way of sort of like being sure they were ready to be presented was menstruation, the beginning of menstruation. But for men, basically, well, with the age, 13, 14 years old. So, well, that's the Huarachicuy. And, well, the Huarachicuy consisted in some competitions in which, well, boys competed. Mainly, of course, boys were more physical, and the ones who who won those competitions. They were recognized by the Inca, and their hairs were cut, and also their ears were pierced, if they were of certain status or social group. So, and in that way, they were able to be pronounced as men. Also, there was an important step into adulthood for the community they belonged to. So they became participants of, let's say, different bands, or, for example, in case of wars, they became eligible for being soldiers. So, well, that was the Huarachico. So keep in mind that we are, again, in the Southern Hemisphere. For us, Christmas is celebrated in summer. Okay, so the Inti Kapag Raimi, the gray festivity or Easter of the sun, the point in the year in which, well, the sun is for the longest in the sky. We see the sun for longer time. In the coast is the time also when the sky turns blue, because we have a longer presence of gray sky, grayness in the sky. That's the ocean, I think you call it ocean bloom, or humidity, this marine breeze, which here creates this gray sky. So we start seeing the blue sky, we start seeing the sun. We don't see the sun really much during the year, at least 6 months. We don't see the sun. Well, and we have, well, these celebrations, which are conducted usually by people who are trying to bring back this relation with Mother Earth and the ancestral deities. But this is not really a Catholic celebration. But most of the people who participate of these events of the solstices, for example, for us is the summer solstice celebration, the Inti Kapag Raimi. They also celebrate Christmas. So there's no conflict in these two celebrations. We just like to add more and more. So, well, Christmas come, the celebration of Christmas come in a territory and in a society that love to celebrate. We had a very long list of festivities during the year that came from the Incas and even from before the Incas, because the Incas were this important empire for about, let's say, 70 years, no more than that. They didn't really wear for long time in the coast, for example, just 70 years in the coast, and then after the Spanish come. Of course, the origin of the Incas is more Andean, South Andean. So when the Spanish came, already there were lots of ceremonies and celebrations, and they took advantage of some of these already existing celebrations, and they modified them. They introduced their own. And it was a slow process, but finally, well, the fusion happened. So with Christmas, the most important Catholic celebration we have nowadays, most devout and most celebrated, was celebrated by the conquistadors since the year they were here in Peru. The first year the conquest officially started was in the year 1532. And we know that, of course, in a very modest way, conquistadors celebrated all of the religious, let's say, festivities of the calendar, with masses especially. But Lima, the city of Lima, the first, let's say, capital, well, not basically the first one. The first capital of Peru was established in the year 1534 in Jauja, but that capital didn't work well. So Francisco Pizarro, Conquistador Pizarro, comes to Lima on January 18, 1535, and he found quite rapidly here let's say, the calm, the ease he was looking for. There were also sometimes of fights with indigenous, but he was able here to build his home. He also had here his children, his daughter, Francisca Pizarro, which in a moment we're going to talk about her. She's a very important character related with celebrations of Christmas in Lima, especially. Her mother also, a princess, an Incan princess, Inés Huaylas, was by the side of the conquistador in the city of Lima. So he celebrated the first Christmas in 1535 here with his family. And well, here you can see an image of Francisco Pizarro, or how we believe he looked like, and, well, his daughter, Francisca. Francisca was a mestiza. And here we go so into this interesting topic related with this necessary fusion of cultures and traditions, because we have a Spanish who married or united with indigenous people. No? So most of the times it was a Spanish man, an indigenous woman. In the case of the conquistadors, many of them united to women of the nobility, the Inca nobility. So these women were, in most of the cases, baptized into the Catholic faith, but they didn't understand the complexity of the religion. Understanding a new faith takes you a long time, especially if you don't understand the language. The language is very different. There is a language barrier between these two groups, the dominant and the subordinate. And also, well, these people, these indigenous people, they had a very complex religion, a religion that was, of course, for them considered was the only one. No? They were in the same position of the Spanish, no? But they were being forced to accept this new faith. So they were trying to understand, well, this new religion. And also another thing interesting is that many of the concepts introduced by the Spanish, and here we go so with Christmas, introduced by the Spanish here, were very new concepts for them. Those were concepts that, for example, the idea of the virginity of Mary, even after she gave birth, before giving birth, Jesus, so why virginity was so important for this Spanish, because pre-Hispanic people, in common, the common people, they didn't value virginity that much. Of course, there were girls who were separated for the call to the sun. There were virgin women that were not touched, but those were separated. The rest of women, they didn't really value that much virginity. So, well, things like that, the original sin were very new. The Trinity were very new. So they tried to make connections with things they already knew. So it was very dangerous for the Spanish to let their children be raised by mothers who were indigenous, and that they even though they were converted into Catholicism, they probably were not very sure of certain elements related with the faith, and they could confuse their children. So that's why many Spanish took their children, their mixed children, called mestizos, from the arms of their moms that were indigenous, and gave them to be raised, let's say, gave them to friends or family or relatives that were of their entire trust, to be raised with the values of those Spanish women, okay? Because these soldiers were always out there. They were not there raise their kids, and there was always the possibility to be killed in the battlefield constantly every day. So, well, in the case of Francisca Pizarro, which I'm sorry I detained for long to explain a bit of this story and the experience of these first mixed unions. Francisca Pizarro was a very lucky lady in a way, like because she had all the protection from her dad. She was not mistreated because she was mixed blood. She had the opportunity of seeing in a way the two worlds, but she was not allowed to stay with her mom. That is the sad part, of course, but it was not unusual in that time. It was not unusual at all to be raised by other relatives. She was lucky in the sense that she was very wealthy and she was very powerful. And she, at the end of her life, was able to live a very pleasing life, more than any other women, of her time. She also had to live some complicated situations, no? But well, she had the first nativity set ever produced for Lima as a present from her dad. So that also shows how much love Pizarro had for his mestizo children, in this case, for Francisca. Well, the nativity set we are talking about is still here in Lima, in the cathedral of the city of Lima. Well, this is the nativity set. It looks very, very beautiful. It is a mid-sized nativity set, and it was made in Spain by solicited of Francisco Pizarro. You can see it in the Cathedral of Lima. But Christmas was a very, very long celebration, and it's not just about the center festivity, which is on the 25th. For us, it starts before, on December the 8th. So yesterday, the celebration of the conception, the Virgin Conception. And well, for us, this is the time when usually people put their nativity sets, and they decorate their houses with trees, and everything is very, very much decorated. So, well, we love to buy things related with Christmas or make our own things related with Christmas. I am not super Christmas person. I am not Catholic, but I was raised Catholic. So we celebrate Christmas because, well, my family, my children especially, like Christmas. But also I think that when you learn about, well, history, and you realize about certain events of the history that are not really like good, or especially the Catholic religion in the Americas, the impact of the religion per se. So I stay away from festivities. But I have my Christmas tree, so you can see here. Well, so that's all I have. So going back to the Christmas celebration, we have here this retablo, the retablo ayacuchano that we see here. Is a recreation of these sort of like boxes with images of celebration, of ceremonies, or of events of the Bible that the religious orders carry with them on their trips or their missionary trips. So we can imagine that, for example, Jesuits, Franciscans, every time they travel to different places in the Andes in their missionary work, and they try to teach the indigenous about, well, let's say, for example, in this case, the nativity, sometimes like well, describing it without, let's say, images, is very complicated, especially because these indigenous didn't speak Spanish, and the missionaries, they spoke Quechua, which was the, let's say, language used sort of like a frank language used in the pre-Hispanic times, but also limited. They were very limited in that language, because there are contexts or elements that you need to be very sort of like very good in the language to transmit. And also there were some, let's say, messages that couldn't be transmitted because, well, there are no words in Quechua for that. So they had to bring new words. For example, in Quechua, the word sin doesn't exist. So we use in Quechua the Spanish word for that word, pecado, or pecar, right? So because there's no understanding of sin, at least not by the indigenous peoples. So it's the same with computadora, by the way. So, well, the solution, let's say, to this problem was carrying images of these, let's say, sort of like the same ones that are in the altars, right? Because altars also were used for didactic purposes, for teaching. But because you couldn't carry a big altar, they made these little boxes with images in them, and with doors. So in that way, they could keep these sort of like images from being damaged, from being scratched, broken, right? And they carry them everywhere. So that's how the indigenous started to see, well, these pieces, and then later made their own say versions of that. And also here we have a representation of a nativity set. This is the way how we do it in the houses. Nativity sets are sort of like well, the Peruvian nativity sets, a blend between different realities. So we all understand Christmas as the celebration of the birth of the Savior, right? We are in the Catholic part of the world, mainly Catholic. 80% of Peruvians is Catholic. And then we have also a 15% evangelical. So basically, Peruvians understand that Christmas is the celebration of the birth of the Savior. But our nativity sets are made in a shape that looks like a mountain. Do you see the mountain there? So it's something like natural, like most people, like the first shape they give to their nativities. And by the way, that shape of mountain is made with a type of paper that is like craft paper that is painted. And we buy it like that. It's painted already, and to emulate the color of the hills. So, well, and we give the shape of the hill. We don't see a stable there. And then in that cave, we see the nativity scene. And most people don't realize that, well, that's not really the way how it was the birth of Jesus. I see a lot of similarity with the idea of the call to the mountains, the call to the mountains, the call to the apus, to the hills that were sacred, and well, are here combined with this tradition that comes from the old world. Well, and sometimes you see guinea pigs, sometimes you see llamas, so our own indigenous animals. And here we have another version of these mountains, right? So the mountains, and then you see the Christmas tree at one side, no? So, well, and of course, Papa Noel there. We will talk about Papa Noel in a moment. And this is another one, okay? So, and it is the same everywhere, in the jungle, in the Andes, in the coast of Peru. We always represent the nativities in the shape of mountains. And before I go to this section, I would like to make a little stop here and check on our comments. Oh, thank you so much for for joining. Thank you so much for being here with me. Would like to double check if there's any question also. So Gregory, thank you for joining, Gregory. Thank you. Sin, I guess, rather than sin. Oh, yes, sin. Sorry if I am not pronouncing it correctly. It is my Hispanic, Latino accent. So Polly mentioned best of all worlds, especially for children. Yes, the best of the two worlds, right? That are connected, and we have, well, all of these elements for our culture to make it so unique and enrich our traditions as well. We live in a mestizo culture. We are not just mestizos ourselves. We are mestizos culturally. No? So you will see also that a little bit ahead as well. Okay, so thank you so much for the commentaries. And if there's no other question, I'll go back to our slideshow. Okay, so for Christmas, nowadays, of course, is the most important Catholic celebration we have in Peru, right? There are other celebrations, of course, that are very important, Easter, for example, but not everybody anymore celebrates Easter. Honestly, no, like people just go on a trip because it's a long holiday, but Christmas is more like family focus. So that's why we like to carry, and we love to buy the presents. So consumism is big during this time. We travel, yes, we travel on Christmas, and usually we travel to see how other people in the country celebrate Christmas. So, for example, we see here a celebration that happens in the south coast of Peru. The Christmas of the south of the country, the Christmas in Ica department. So Lima is here, Ica is in the south, is the right next state or the department of the country, is known as a place where a big Afro-Peruvian community live. Okay, so I will not go in detail about these celebrations because I will prepare a special series dedicated to Afro-Peruvian history for February. So we're going to talk about the Afro-Peruvian women, Afro-Peruvian men, food, and more. But well, these negritos, or the little black men, comparsa or parade, is one of the most visited festivities by Peruvians, of course, in Christmas. Okay, so we go to see how these black men dance. They dance for hours and hours and hours and hours, and that's before the birth of Jesus, right? So Afro-Peruvian history, of course, is very important for us, as we are a very mixed society, a very, very mixed country, like a melting pot. So let's talk about other forms of art in other parts of the country. We're going to see some highlights related with how uniquely, this celebration is sort of like adapted to different realities of Peru. So the nativity sets of Cusco, especially the nativity sets of the Mendívil house. Mendívil is a last name. I am Vasquez, for example, Vanessa Vasquez. So Mendívil is a last name that is very sort of like celebrated in Cusco. Everybody knows the Mendívil family because they are artisans that for generations had produced imaginary images, especially of saints, angels, and also nativity sets, like the one you see here. But what is the characteristic of the Mendívil art? So probably you already noticed these long necks. So the necks are very long. Well, the reason of these unusually long necks, it looks a little bit like the manieristic style, the Italian manieristic style. The family explains that it's really like inspiration taken from the shape of the necks of the cameloids, the American cameloids, llamas, alpacas, vicuñas. So this is a very unique element. You will not see anywhere in the world something like this. Well, I cannot forget about my Peruvians from the jungle, from this wide territory of Peru. 60% of the territory of Peru is rainforest. We have 3 regions: coast, Andes, and the jungle, the Amazon. And by the way, there is less concentration of people in the jungle. So most of the concentration of the population is along the coast. 70% of the population of Peru lives in the coast of Peru, and 1/3 of the population lives in Lima only. So these communities in the jungle are the ones that in a way could be considered more pristine. They are still uncontacted communities in the jungle, communities that, well, are protected in this moment by the government. Their territories cannot be touched. Their territories cannot be evangelized. And also, one of the reasons is to avoid their contamination with our diseases, with our problems. But in the beginnings of the 20th century, due to the rubber boom, the boom of the exploitation of the rubber in Iquitos, for example, many people started to go into that territory at the end of the 19th century, beginnings of the 20th century. Missionaries went in that direction, and also they were the ones who evangelized the indigenous. So that's how, in recent times, the people of the jungle have absorbed that tradition. And, well, the ones who are Catholic, they celebrate it. But there you have, well, this very peculiar nativity set, Amazonian style. So this is the best way to say, well, people in the jungle of Peru, as well as in other parts of the country, embrace this new tradition, because they even recognize themselves as part of that culture. So it's not just an alien tradition that came and we are celebrating a very fair Virgin Mary, no? No, like Virgin Mary is like you and I here in Peru, right? And, well, Christmas trees, well, sometimes we really take our traditions and our enthusiasm for recreating the real, say, Christmas, the way how we think it is, because in our minds, we have a Christmas like a, I don't know, like a beautiful, like celebration in winter, when it snows. And we don't have snow here. Even in the Andes, snow is rarely seen, rarely seen. And it only snows too high, like over 5,000 meters above sea level. So in places where most people cannot live. Well, we use fake snow for our trees. We don't need to do that, but we do it. Because without the fake snow, it's not Christmas, okay? And what about places like Puno, for example, in the high plateau? There are no trees in Puno, right? It's so high. It's over 4,000 meters above sea level, most of the communities around the Titicaca Lake. Titicaca Lake is close to 4,000 meters above sea level. And there's people living there. Yes, of course. We have all communities, like the Uro community. Is a community that its ancestors, their ancestors go back to even pre-Hispanic times. They were forced to leave let's say the shores of the lake and escape oppression from, this is pre-Hispanic times, and they escape into the lake, and they produce in the lake this form of survival there in the lake. So in that way, they will not need to return to the shore. So first they live in boats made from reed. It's a type of reed that grows in the Titicaca Lake, totora. And later, from those boats they live in, they started to unite some other boats together, and they made islands. And they cover the boats with more reed, and that's how they made artificial islands. And well, that's how they live nowadays. There are still people from this community that live in the islands. And well, in a reality where you don't see trees really that high, there are not so many species that can survive. Well, they know how Christmas trees are, the pine trees. So they make their own with totora. Okay, so that's what you see, a totora reed tree. Well, in Santa Claus, Santa, okay, Papa Noel for us. So Papa Noel is the way how we call Santa. Papa Noel comes from the French Père Noël. So seems that our influence comes from that side. In Peru, we celebrate, of course, Santa Claus, but Santa is one of the most, what can we say, most questioned characters of Christmas. Although nowadays you don't need to be Catholic to celebrate Santa. But there was a time in our history when, especially during the military government of Velasco in the 70s, the image of Santa, the same one that Coca-Cola basically defound as the Santa we know, Coca-Cola used very good merchandising tactics for Santa, making it Santa's the way it is. The military regime of that time considered this Santa sort of like a let's say alien to our culture, no? So and decided to create their own version of Santa Claus. So we even had our own Santa, like 100% Peruvian. And this Santa couldn't use or couldn't wear like Western clothes. We are in the Andes, much warmer climate. So at night it's cold in the Andes, of course, but at daytime it's not really cold. So we needed a Santa Claus that will meet our needs. And there you have our Santa, Taita Noel. So Taita means father in Quechua, and Noel, well, from Papa Noel, right? So you can see him with his poncho, right? His chuyo, his hat, very Andean. And of course, the clothes, the short pants and sandals that men use also in the Andes. So, well, there was a ban also on Santa Claus in the 70s. This is the President Velasco, but it didn't work for long, by the way. No, eventually Santa came back. Well, and now we're going to talk about food in Christmas. And so these foods I will explain and I will pass to share to you all are foods that are still enjoyed in Peru, but in the colonial times, those foods were the ones we ate in Christmas, okay? So this first group of foods I will explain, they are foods that we used to consume in Christmas, oh, but we don't consume anymore in Christmas. We have a different, let's say, diet for that special night, okay? So frijol colado, for example, a dessert, a traditional Afro-Peruvian dessert that consists in black beans, sugar, milk, and spices. It's a very delicious, sort of like pudding style or puree, but it's more like a puree, honestly. Very tasty. So that's what people ate on Christmas. Or mazamorra morada, mazamorra, a pudding made from purple corn. Many especially says that even though, well, the purple corn is pre-Hispanic, this dessert wouldn't be possible without the Spanish influence, especially the Moorish influence in the Peruvian gastronomy. The Spanish introduced also traditions that were not Christian originally, like especially in the culinary, that came from the Moors or the Arabs and their occupation of almost 800 years in most of the Iberian Peninsula. Tamales. Okay, so if I have friends from Mexico here, they will say, oh, but tamales are Mexican. Well, yes, indeed, tamales are Mexican. The word tamale is Mexican, but we have our own tamales. We didn't call them tamales, by the way, in the pre-Hispanic times. The Spanish came and they sewed these cakes, like involved in leaves. In our case, the husk of the corns and cook boiled or in these earth pots that we had, and they will say, oh, these are tamales, like the same ones like in Central America. So well, we used to call them humintas, that's in Quechua, but now everybody calls them tamales. So well, they are made from corn. That's what we used to eat in Christmas. Now we eat tamales every day in the morning, usually as a breakfast. Also the donuts, the Peruvian donuts, picarones. No, they're very tasty. You can eat them at nighttime, as well as the buñuelos, for example, the bombitas, which you can find in every market in Lima, in the historic center. So we don't need to wait for Christmas to eat them. Well, this is how a Christmas table looks like. Well, let me tell you that our Christmas table is very unique. Sort of like unique in the sense that you will never see in a table so many alien elements all together for a traditional celebration. For example, we see turkey in the center, right? Like the same style like you eat turkey in North America for Thanksgiving, right? We have a Russian salad. We have Arab rice. We have hot chocolate. We have panettone. So like we have foods, champagne from France. So we have like from all over the world in our table. Like here we start with, of course, the turkey. This is the only time in the year we eat turkey, by the way. It's the only time in the year, no other time in the year. And we have the panettone, Italian tradition, with hot chocolate, chocolate from Mexico. So why we have this very strange mix in our table? Of course, it's extravagant and it's expensive and you want the best for Christmas. But basically, the history, and there are some specialists who have tried to answer that question, why our Christmas table is like this. It's not indigenous. It's so like international. Well, we used to eat those traditional foods in Christmas until the 19th century, right? I think there's another, yes, this is the Russian salad, for example, Arab rice. So, well, what happens is that in the 19th century, we have, after our independence from Spain, we have a big group of immigrants coming to Peru. Lots of people, immigrants, because we had before a closed doors policy. Spain imposed that just to protect its territories here in the Americas. So, well, but after the independence, we opened the doors to immigrants from all over the world. We had also the guano boom. Guano is the poop of seabirds, the manure of seabirds. It's a great fertilizer. We did a lot of money on that. And well, people were coming from England, from France, from Italy, from China, from Japan, right? So it was a mass immigration to Peru, to Lima. And these rich international people, high-profile people, they contracted they paid for the service in the houses, lots of Peruvian people, like modest people who went to work into the houses of these extravagant like immigrants who were eating like extravagant foods like chocolate, hot chocolate in Christmas. That's something you have in cold climates. But these people were used to having that, like the English, I assume, and the Americans also. So, well, they consume that on Christmas, and their servants, their workers, they prepared those for them, and well, they wanted to imitate that in their houses, so they started to do that in their homes, and they started to cook the same foods their masters cooked, of course, with variations, more modest ways to do them in their houses. So that's how, like, their curiosity to taste those foods and to share that food with their families and friends made or filtrated out of those households, these foods. So that's how it happened. We always eat also with our turkey, a puree of potato, or another one very popular is apple, manzana. And ending also with the Christmas part. Remember that we're having a next one that is about the New Year's Eve. We have here some interesting names related with Christmas. The Peruvians love Christmas, and they take it to another level. For example, in Peru, well, this is, let's say, information from the official registration agency of Peru, like registration for like your IDs. How many Marys exist in Peru? We're talking about over 1 million Marys. Josephs, Jose, over 800,000. Jesus, we like to use the name Jesus, no? Over 400,000. Angel, over 300,000. And there we go with Gabriel, angels, nativity, star. Well, we have again Jose with the we call it tilde, which is for stressing the emphasis of the word Jose. Jesus, Jesus, Mary, Noel, right? Baltasar, Belen or Bethlehem, right? Shepherd, pastor, peace, and so on. So, well, we really take it into another level. And well, New Year's Eve, and by the way, I don't know if you were able to see there is a donation button if you would like to support events like this one. They are all free and supported just with tips. Thank you so much. At the end, if you wait until the end, I'll give you also the way how to get into a donation button. So I have something very, very fun prepared for you. So well, here you have the New Year's Eve traditions. So New Year's Eve, the end of the year. People are excited when the end of the year comes because, well, they want to start the next one with energy. You want to leave all the bad doings or the bad things behind. You start the diet, the new year. But just to clarify something important, like the concept of New Year that we have nowadays, starting on January the 1st, right? it was not understood like that for the pre-Hispanic people, because for the pre-Hispanic people, the new year started in the middle of the year. Okay, in the middle of the year. That is the new year in the Andean world, the June 20th. So this is a different understanding. And why? Well, because it's the time when the sun, like you see the sun for less time in the year. And then like we do ceremonies, the winter solstice is a very important celebration, the Inti Raymi, the big party of the sun. So that we still do in Peru, especially in Cusco. So in that moment in the year, we do celebrations for the sun to return, to come more like closer, to not go away. Right? So that is for us the beginning of the year, and it starts also with the process of the agriculture, the plantations, and all of that. So, well, it's a very important time for us in our calendar. We are in the summer solstice, but well, we don't care. Like we celebrate New Year, and we have a lot of Kabbalahs for the new year, the year to come. And we prepared all of those Kabbalahs, all of those like magical formulas to have a very good year with anticipation, most of them. But we have to have them before midnight. Okay. So, for example, for us, we have to have lentils. Like lentils are related with money, with coins. So if you want to have a lot of money next year, you have to buy your lentils. Don't cook them, just the lentils. And you have to put lentils in your pockets, in your wallet. Some people also throw lentils to the other one exactly at midnight. So that's what you do. You throw the lentils and you have a war with lentils. So that's for good luck. And money. Also, other people prioritize like wishing good things for all of the year, not just money. Like they have like the wishes for every month of the year. So if you have that, if you have like projects for, let's say, in January, I want to do this, and in February, I want to do this, and in March, and so on. So you have to do this one. You need to have your grapes. 12 grapes, one for each month of the year. And exactly at midnight, you start eating each one of the grapes, and you think in the wishes you wanna have, like want to make like accomplish next year, right? So you eat very fast because it has to be in 1 minute. Also, you have to do this. This is my recommendation. It's been tested by me and it works always wonderful. Is the yellow underwear. Yellow underwear for Peruvians is basically like a must. You can also have a combination of yellow underwear with other colors. Yellow is for good luck. Yellow is for prosperity. Green is for money, right? Green is the color of the dollars. So that's why we use green for money, right? And red is for love, right? So you can have a combination of those three. Of course, that underwear, you will not use it ever again. But is a very interesting thing. You have to try it and then you have to tell me. Well, another thing we do, we clean the house. And this is really minutes before midnight. We like use our broom, right? And we, like clean the house, all the dust, everything goes to the main exit, the door, the entrance of the house, right? So everything, goes in that direction. And then you throw like all the bad energy out of the house, right? Like this, house very clean for the beginning of the year. Well, ruda is a plant that is used for magical purposes. It has, so far I know, its origin also in the Afro-Peruvian tradition or in the African tradition, and then later in the Afro-American. American for the continent, no? Tradition. Ruda, this plant, I hope you know it. I hope you can find it. Its smell it has a very nice perfume. It is used for doing cleans in people. Some people are like loaded with bad energy, so they think that they had been given the bad evil eye, right, by someone. So they go to the healer, and the healer like cleans the body with these plants, and also with multiple other pociones, we'll say. I don't want to say the word poison, that is the venom, but like we use like this sort of like a perfumes to make the aura better. So this is what we do, especially in New Year's Eve. So before, or the day before, you usually buy a blend of herbs. You can buy an herb like collection that is usually prepared by someone that is an expert in this, let's say, work of cleans, right? Hierbero, an expert in herbs. And let's say like you ask, I want for, having good luck, and I've been not so fortunate in love, so I want to have a boyfriend next year, or I want to marry next year, right? So I want to start a business. So the hierbero, this shaman, will make a special bag for you, right? And usually what happens is when you go home, and some people also like to do that, especially at midnight. Oh, so you see, like, I don't know, Auntie Maria disappears minutes before midnight, and you want to say, like, a Happy New Year, and she's gone. And she is actually in her bathroom, in her bathtub, immersing in this combination of herbs and doing this medicinal bath uh, for the next year to come. Right. So, well, that's what they do. Or you can do just a limpia, a cleanse, like in this case, for the next year. So you can see also during the pandemic, of course, we had to be like socially distant, but we always find a way to continue carrying our traditions. Like yellow flowers in the house, also very important. All the markets are covered in yellow flowers for you to take home. Another tradition, not my favorite, and it has also in the last years been banned, so you don't see it that much, but it still happens, is the burning of the dolls. So these gigantic, sometimes like real high dolls, or real, let's say like human-sized dolls, made from clothes, all clothes, like all clothes, all the old clothes that, for you, like represent, like the past things, and, or maybe the clothes of your ex. Also, all of those clothes are taken, collected, like, and with those clothes, with those pieces from the past, you make a doll, right? And well, exactly at midnight, you burn the doll. Okay. The problem is that, well, this caused lots of incidents, accidents, fires, of course, no, because people sometimes are already drinking, and they have the beer, they get too excited, and well, accidents had happened. So that's why it is banned now. So a way to replace this tradition is with these piñatas. Piñatas that are entertaining, because they have usually the faces of characters of the politics of Peru that are not really celebrated, or infamous characters, let's say footballers who miss scoring, or I don't know, models who were not, like, let's say, portrayed in a positive way during the year, or so on. Like all of these people, their pictures, their photographs are put in these piñatas, and with some infamous phrases they said, that made them famous, right? So we use them as decoration, and some people even burn them so well. I don't know if that's any better. So you can see, for example, the picture of Fujimori, Alberto Fujimori, a president who passed away this year. Okay, so well, there you have some traditions. And I think the most famous of all is this one here, which is hilarious. Exactly at midnight, we take our luggages, the travel luggages that we usually pack with clothes. We don't care, like we put just clothes there. If you want to travel, we take our passport. If we have a passport, if you want to travel international, you take your passport, you take that luggage, and you run around the block of your house non-stop. Don't look back. Just go straight. Run. And then, well, that is to guarantee to travel that next year. Could be inside the country or abroad. Well, well, I want to wish to you all Feliz Navidad or Happy Holidays. If you don't celebrate Christmas, Happy Holidays to you all. And if you wish to support this channel and the event of today, first of all, you have some forms to do it. You can, let's say, comment about this event. I will also upload this video on my YouTube channel. For more information, you can also visit my social medias. My YouTube channel is also under Adventurous Travel Guide. You can also send me an email if you want information about like my sources or where you can read more about not just this topic, any other topic. Also, if you wish to donate, I have here a QR code to my PayPal. You can make a screenshot if you wish. And then later with your cell phone, you activate, like a sensor for QR codes, and you're going to see my PayPal. Okay. But also in our chat, and let me also remove this, okay, this slideshow in the chat. And now I'm going to answer some questions because I think there are some questions also. I am sharing with you, again, the same code, okay, to donate if you wish to do it. So let me check on the comments here. Gracias, Polly. Gracias. Thanks for commenting about my accent. Some people say I speak like Sofia Vergara. We all Latinas speak like that. That looks such fun. Again, something from everywhere reaches life and community, doesn't it? Exactly. I do believe the same. Panettone with hot chocolate, definitely worth integrating. Yes, but just once a year because it's not really healthy, trust me. And we eat panettone with hot chocolate in the hottest night of the year, one of the hottest nights of the year. So we are sweating like with the fan, and we are having our hot chocolate. It's hilarious. I love the grapes tradition. Me too. I do it every year. I'll try to record some of my traditions of this year. I try to keep at least the grapes. Last year, I did the running with the luggage around the block because I was living in the house of my mom that is in the first floor. But now I live in a fifth floor, and I will not run with my luggage down and then coming up. So I saw another trick for those like me that live on, like high buildings. So to leave your luggage at the entrance of the house, again with the passport at the door, like if you were going on a trip, like if you were going to take your, I don't know, taxi to the airport, the same thing. So you can do it as well. If it's too cold for you to run out as well. Hola, Arlene. Hola. Peruvian New Year's Eve is fabulous, full of grace, surrounded by lentils and putting stuff in the. Yes, exactly. We also have very crazy decorations for the head, and we love everything has to be yellow, by the way. If you want to be a bride next year, for example, you have to buy a veil yellow color for good luck. So it's funny. In the UK, we're lucky to get to sing all the hymn song and avoid the drunks. That's also nice, Polly. That's also very nice. I would love to see snow in well, Christmas and New Year one day, I hope. Thank you so much, Polly, and thank you so much to you all who were able to join and to comment. To high tech for me, I only do PayPal. Yes, I know. I'm trying to be the most up to the technology. So that QR code is for PayPal. So it's very, very interesting, like how PayPal and also other websites are doing for making our lives a little bit more simple instead of texting. Huh? Muchas gracias, Ashri. Thanks for joining. Gracias, gracias. Yes, the holidays, holiday time. Everybody's happy in a good mood. What's the best currency best for you? Oh, in Peru, we do soles and dollars easily. No, so that's good for us, honestly. No, we don't have problems like changing. Grapes to eat for the New Year's Eve with wishes perfect to enjoy so much Peruvian holiday tradition. Yes, Ashley. Gracias, Arlene. Thank you so much, my dear friends. And well, hope that you enjoyed today's event. I will be doing some more soon. Let me know which events you would like me to bring soon to you all. And well, see you soon. In some few more days, I will be doing an event about Jewish history in Lima. So just to finish with this, so this is my website. You know already my website, how to get there. And if you go to my website, if you go to the section of online tours and classes, you will be able to see all my upcoming events. So we have, for example, Jewish Heritage of Peru coming in, I think, on the 12th. So in 3 more days. Okay, so well, have a lovely day and best to you all. Lovely week as well. Chao, chao. Nos vemos. Bye, bye. Adios, amigos. See you soon. Take care.